a little bright. Let's bring this light down some, just a little bit. There we go. Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome back to Let's Talk Business, where we break down the best tools and strategies to help photographers and videographers succeed. If you're new here, my name is Desmond, and I share gear reviews, behind-the-scene insights, and a little bit of expert tips on how to book more clients. Today, we're going to do a deep dive comparison between two of my favorite lights. They're also known as some of the biggest names in the lighting business, which is Amaran as well as Nanlite. Now, I'll be honest with you, I use a lot of lights, a lot of gear, a lot of equipment, but when it comes to lights, I'm not going to tell you today that this is the light that you must buy, but I will tell you that these are the lights that I keep in my bag, and these are the lights that I'm going to be keeping in my bag for 2025, and I'm gonna break down to you a little bit of why I'm going to be doing that. Now, you see the hat. Let's just be honest. Yes, I may live in Dallas, but I'm from Philadelphia. I'm a diehard Philly fan, and my Eagles won. And so why not just start this entire video by just having a little bit of celebration, right? Let's bring in a little bit of green light in there, right? And let's celebrate. Lighting, I want you all to understand a few things. First, you have to understand why lighting, right? Because when you're thinking about why lighting and when you're thinking about the everyday person and the everyday person that's looking at your video, there is this conception or misperception that it's a lot of lights and it takes a lot of lights to get great shots. That's not the case. It really only takes maybe one, maybe two good lights. And then, of course, we have the natural light from our windows, as well as also outdoors to help light our subjects. But that's not what we're talking about today. Today, we're going to talk about the key elements or the key differences and the things that I like about these lights. So, as we know, every video needs light. Every experience, everything that you look at has some type of feel. And when you bring lighting into your aspect of video, or even in your photos, it creates a mood. Lighting is everything. It's the difference between an amateur shot and a cinematic masterpiece. Whether you're filming a corporate event, a wedding, or content for your YouTube channel, i.e. like this one, your lighting setup defines the quality of your work. And even when it comes to choosing the right lights, two brands that stand out to me are the Amaran and the Nanlite. I'll be honest, we're going to break both of these down. I bought the Nanlites first, and then I picked up the Amarans, but there was a reason why I didn't go all out with just one brand, and I'm gonna tell you why. Let's start with Amaran. So Amaran lighting is a budget-friendly light. Amaran lighting, I personally use the Amaran 150Cs as well as also the light tubes that you see behind me. The reason why is because they have amazing durability, but at the same time, they're easy on my pockets. Now, Amaran is also the budget-friendly line for Aperture. So we've all heard the Aperture brand. We've all heard that name. If you haven't, look them up. They're amazing. But the price range was a little bit high for the amount of lights that I was trying to buy and spend at that time. Now, I will also say that when you think of Amaran, you must think of creators. I believe that these lights were designed for creators who want professional lighting without the high price tag. I personally use that Amaran 150C for my key lighting for even this setup in my YouTube videos. And I also use a lot of the light tubes for a lot of my creative setups, meaning I can hang them, I can hold them, I can put them on a C-stand, I can add colors to my lights, I can do a lot of things with my light tubes. They have the T4C as well as also the T2C. And then I'll be honest, that was the ones that I have now. But they've come out with newer versions. But like I said earlier this year, we don't need to buy if we have what we need, right? So you choose what fits your pocket best. But I will tell you this. When I think of Amaran, I also think of the smart features like the wireless control. Now, there are a lot of brands out there that have wireless control, but what I've seen when I'm looking at my Amaran light setup is the ability to control these lights seamlessly. Let me show you. So this is my app on my phone. And when I'm looking and when I'm wanting to change the colors or anything on these lights, for example, the lights behind me, I can easily do that. Let's say I want to make them red. I can do that. I can make them yellow. I can make them blue. I can make them purple. And you see how quickly it's happening. I can even go down to saying I want to make them specific colors. Now, all of that, of course, sets the mood, that sets the tone. But at the same time, when I'm looking at my usability, you have to think about what are you using these lights for. So if you're a content creator, a wedding filmmaker, or someone building out a solid lighting kit without breaking the bank, I always say Amaran is an amazing option. It has that RGB WW technology in the 150C, which allows that full control, which also means you can get really creative with your setups. So there are moments that I have my 150C maybe off to the left side of my camera. There's moments that I put it right above me. There's moments that I'm using it as a quick light to set up an interview. It all depends on what I'm wanting that mood to feel like. But now, is this light overpowering the sun? No, it's not. Is it overpowering the window light? No, it's not. But what I can tell you this light is doing is lighting my subject the way that I need it to light. I typically, when I'm looking for a quick 1 or 2 light setup, I'm grabbing the Amaran and I may grab one of these light tubes behind me as a hair light, and that's it. I've done it. I'll show you later. Now, how do I use these Amaran lights? Like I said, I do a lot of corporate work, but at the same time, I also do a lot of work with high schools. And high schools love creativity. They love that experience. And so in that, when I'm looking at building out my setups, when I'm looking at building out their media day setups, I typically will bring in these lights and I'm setting them up for control, meaning I'm using them to have flashes. I'm using them to create dynamic pulse. I'm using them to create maybe a broken light effect. It all depends on what we're shooting and how we're shooting it. So when I look at these lights, when I'm looking at how I use them, it's really based on what my clients are looking for. Sometimes, like I said, I may just need it for a quick talking head, whether I'm on a convention floor or maybe it is a behind the scenes content and I'm wanting just to add a little peak of light for maybe a shelf or something of that nature. All of that matters. Remember, when you think of lighting, understand that it provides soft elements to your experience. Now, other things that I'm looking at is when I'm looking at, of course, the light tubes. So let's talk about this light tube setup. So this light tube, one of the things that I love about it, and I will make it white for the sake of this video really quickly. Boom. And let's bring it down just a little bit. First things first is the build. Build quality, I'll be honest, I've dropped these maybe a few times. I've let my assistants use them. They've maybe have not been the best kept, but at the same time, they're durable. They don't create, there's not a lot of movement to where you have to worry about being fragile. I've used these to where the element has been maybe wet. I've used these in cold elements. They've held up. The battery lasts forever. The other thing about this is it has that diffusion, right? So this doesn't mean, so it's not really blowing out your subject. So it's giving me a lot of what I need for the softness of my lighting. Now, the other thing that I like about this is the versatility of these lights. So when I look at my lights and when I'm looking at my light tubes, I'm always looking at saying, is it too much? Is it adding too much light? And I can control that through the app. And so that's important because these lights can become practical lights. They can give me that practical effect to add more depth to my backgrounds. And that's important to me. From wedding receptions, I'll be honest, it sometimes just sets the mood. It gives that vibe that you may be looking for. So that's my take when it comes to Amaran. Like I said, a few key things. 1, it's not breaking your pockets. 2, it allows you to really create a lot of different elements for your scenes and what you're trying to build upon. Whether it's a talking head or whether it is a wedding, whether it is a media day, the sky's the limit. Maybe you're just creating a short film or a documentary. You're able to use that light in every type of element. Now, let's talk about a little bit more of a higher grade light that has a little bit more power, and that's the Nanlite. When I think about the Nanlite, the first thing I think about is it's my firstborn. I say that because the Nanlite FS300, I'm sorry, the Nanlite Forza 300Bs were my very first lights that I ever purchased from a professional lighting standpoint. I had some flapjacks, I had some those LED square lights that you've seen in the past, but as I continue to build up my workflow and my clientele, I knew that I had to come a little bit more correct, right? Meaning I knew I needed to add a little bit more power to what I'm doing. Doesn't mean that you can't get that work done because that's how I started, but that doesn't mean that's how we finish. So if you need some serious power and precision, I'll be honest, Nanlite was the way to go for me. It may be the way to go for you as well. The Nanlite Forza 300Bs, they're a little bit older, but they give me all the power that I need. I also have the 500 watt version of the Forzas as well, and they are an absolute beast for professional shoots. I've used these lights for headshots. I've used these lights for interviews. I've used these lights to light up a room so that I can shoot a wedding that was in pitch black. I promise you that these lights are amazing, but what's best about them is that bicolor output. When I tell you it is 100% accurate, it is so accurate. It delivers that high output as well as also that temperature control, right? And also the reliability is consistent. I will tell you that I've had moments to where these lights have been running for hours and they've never gone out. Let me say it again. They've been running for hours and they never went out. Granted, that should be most lights, but that's not always the case. I've also had moments to where I've been able to use my remote and can control them from anywhere in the room. And it has been consistent. It has allowed me to be able to use what I need and also be able to be efficient in my process. Now, some things that I love about the Nanlite is the build quality and the brightness. Of course, when you think of a 300 watt light and a 500 watt light, you're thinking, yeah, that's bright. But when I say it's bright, it's bright. It lights the room. It gives me what I want. It gives me what I'm needing every single time. Whether I'm lighting a full production set or, of course, capturing stunning portraits, yes, I do use my consistent lights for portraits as well. Don't let anyone tell you that, oh, you always have to use a flash. There is a way that you can use these lights the same way that we use flashes to do what you want to do. So if you're thinking about budget and you're saying, where can I get the most bang for my buck? These lights work for you, definitely from an LED perspective. Now, the other thing is you add a softbox to it, it's still giving me that softness. It's still giving me the feel. It's still giving me that secondary space of production that I'm looking for. Because I tell you all often, it's not just about the visual, it's also about your sound, which is another layer. And then, of course, making sure that the room is lit perfectly. So yes, you have your camera. Yes, we can talk about lenses and how sharp they are. That all matters. But when we think about the elements of videography and photography, there's also the other elements that matter. Light being the main one. So outside of that, Nanlites have very similar control just like the Amarans do, meaning you can have different features that's built into them. So if you need a dramatic light, if you need to have a broken bulb feel, if you need to have a pulse, they can do that as well. I've used them in those elements, especially if I'm trying to pump a crowd up. It's worked. Now, my drawback to my Nanlites, while they do have the RGB WWs, I don't have those specific ones. I'm looking for those definitely in the future, but that's also an option. And so understanding when you need to bring in that RGB in, when do you need to bring in that color space, and also thinking, do I need to spend the price tag for that? Some say yes because they like to stay within brand. Some say no because that may not be the main key source. So for me, I specifically put my money for my key lights as well as also my hair lights. And then for my creative lights, that's where I went Amaran. That's how I built it. So which one should you choose? That's the question, right? Which light should we be choosing? And I'll be honest, that's up to you. I think that when we think of lights, when we think about what you're trying to create, you have to think of, are you a solo content creator, run and gun filmmaker, working with a tight budget? then Amaran may be the way for you. But if you are, maybe you have a little bit more budget, and you have the experience that where you understand lighting and you can shape lighting a lot better, then Nanlite may be it. If you're still trying to figure this out, I'm gonna tell you, hey, there's still other brands. Keep looking. Light is abundant. So don't stop with just the 2 brands that I'm talking about. Think about the others and say, what works for you? I have a few buddies. We all have different lights. We use them all the same though. And so the brand does not define your work. The work defines who you are. Your consistency defines who you are. From that, everything else is up to you. At the end of the day, like I said, I use both depending on the project. Amaran is fantastic for everyday content. Nanlite is my go-to for my high-end professional work. If you have any questions, let me know. Lighting, like I said, is an investment. Choosing the right gear can make all the difference in the work that you do and how you produce it. Hopefully, this breakdown gives you just a little bit more clarity on how these lights can fit into your setup. And if this video helped you out, smash that like button, subscribe for more content, and drop a comment below. What's your go-to lighting? Until next time, keep creating. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.